From your local election headquarters, you're watching WTAJ News election coverage.
Welcome back into the election hub. We are taking a look live at our talliers as results are coming in. Some races are becoming finalized. We have some winners that we're ready to call. It's been very exciting. I'm Jordan Tracy. Welcome into the election hub. I'm joined by Terry Tomasetti, and we have Dr. Jack Barlow from Juniata College. Guys, kind of an exciting time now. We're starting to get some results in.
The answers are coming in.
The answers are in. So let's go to the first race. We've been talking about this very key race in Blair County. It is the commissioner's race, and we are ready to make some calls. So let's go to the results there for the Blair County commissioner's race. We are calling the results here. Amy Webster and Bruce Erb get the first two seats, and what they are called. We are calling this race. Laura Burke ends up unseating Ted Beam there in the Democratic race by around 17 to 15%, 97% of precincts reporting there.
That's not going to change. I cannot see it from here, but the vote difference between Amy Webster and Bruce Erb?
It is just around, right around 600 votes. 600 votes.
Yeah, that seems
votes.
Pretty secure. If it was down to 100 or so, you never know what happened with absentee ballots, but that looks pretty solid. I will tip my hat to Commissioner Erb. That was a monumental effort after how things went for him in the primary. So he's a sharp campaigner for sure.
Exactly. So we are calling that race, and let's go to our reporter who has been on this race tonight. It's Morgan Cozier, excuse me. She is out there live in Blair County. Morgan, what can you tell us about the race developing here tonight?
Hey, good evening, Jordan. That's right. The big race we've been following all night long is the Blair County Commissioner's race. Let's go ahead and give you a live look at these numbers as they're rolling in here. It looks like Amy Webster and Bruce Erb, they're taking those two Republican seats. And Laura Burke, looks like she's beating Ted Beam Jr. at this point. That was the big question that we've been following all night long as the incumbent, but we want to remind you to stay updated and stay connected with WTAJ News as we are your election headquarters. Stay connected with us both on air and online as we bring you live updates as these races are being called tonight on this election night. But for now, in Altoona, Morgan Cozier, WTAJ News.
Morgan, thank you. We do want to remind we are calling that race, those three seats, Amy Webster, Bruce Erb, and Laura Burke, the new commissioners in Blair County.
It was pretty certain, particularly with the race for the Democratic position, we'll call it, after 60 precincts. There was a 700, 600 vote difference at that point in time, and it looked like it was pretty certain where it was going to go. And as I said before, those thresholds, those leads that people have after a certain point, they just don't seem to close. They don't change.
What do you think we're attributing this change here to? Is it the reassessment? Is it something that's kind of pushed through from Amy Webster's campaign that be kind of harping on through these ads and social media? We can call them, there are negative ads that were out there. Do you think that had an impact on Ted Beam tonight?
And they're not entirely correct, but there are people, I can say that fairly accurately, some of those comments were not accurate, but there was a gist of truth to them, and there was an angry vote out there. Amy Webster obviously did well. She didn't do as well in this election as she did in the primary, so there's been time to address issues. I think, as I said before, that Laura Burke did a great ground game. It was quiet, but a very good ground game. She ran that campaign well, working, I think, primarily the Democratic people for their votes. And I think also the people who supported Amy Webster also wanted to make sure that Ted Beam didn't get in, looking at him as one of the causes for the reassessment problems as they see them.
And we'll be able to talk a little bit more about that race as we get into the 11 o'clock hour and go through most of the races here. We do want to move on to the Huntington County Commissioner's race. Let's take a look at those results at this time with 59% in. Dr. Barlow, we can talk a little bit about this. Not much of a surprise here. The incumbents look like they're in a pretty good lead there with Mark Sather and Scott Walz on the Republican side with 36 and 35% respectively. Jeff Thomas, the Democrat, with 18% of the vote to Gary O'Corn's 12%. Looks like it's a separation of about 400 votes there.
400 votes, yeah, but I think I mean, he'll probably hang on to that. It's too early to call yet, but he'll probably hang on to the lead.
Any major issues that you can recall in Huntington County that they were looking looking at or things that were being discussed in the county?
No, there's not a lot of major issues, and people are pretty happy with the incumbent commissioners, which, as you can see, I mean, they're going to return them. So
Exactly. Let's take a look now at Center County commissioners. We're on a commissioner stretch here. We have Michael Pipe with 30% of the vote. Mark Higgins followed there with 28% of the vote, 2 incumbents. Now going for that Stephen Dersham right there on the Republican side with 23% of the vote. Chris Exarchos, as we talked about, had a seat, took some time off after losing the seat, came back, won a seat again, took some time off, now going for that seat. He has 19% down. That's only 18% reporting. That Republican seat down there is too close to call at this point.
So he's in last place there, correct?
Yes, Chris Exarchos,
I have to
yes.
wonder how the populace looks at somebody who ran, was successful. I don't know what the reason for leaving office, if he lost or just didn't run again, then comes back one term. Now it's coming back a third time separate. He'd have to. My
an
thought would be,
interesting
what's
study.
going on here? Why is it separated so much? Why isn't any continuous effort? And I don't know. Maybe he lost election. Maybe there was a family issue. I don't know. I think it would be something that would play into a voter's mind.
It's definitely interesting, like a case study there.
Yeah,
One race that is getting interesting as the night goes on is the Cambria County District Attorney's race. For that, we do have Sean Rapp, who's been covering that race for us tonight. Let's go out to Sean and see what he can tell us about this race. The last numbers we checked, Kelly Callahan was actually the incumbent, losing so far. Sean?
That's right, Jordan. One of the more interesting races in Cambria County, one of the more talked about and contested races between Democratic incumbent Kelly Callahan and Republican candidate Greg Niebauer. Now, Callahan has been the DA in Cambria County for the past 10 years and been in the DA's office for 24 years. Niebauer has been an assistant DA for 3 years and now is looking to take the role of district attorney. Currently 66% of the votes in, Greg leading 55 to 45. And to keep up with this and all the Cambria County races, head over to wearecentralpa.com. Jordan?
All right, Sean, thank you. Can we pull that graphic up again? We want to make sure we see those numbers on that race, if you could please, in the booth there. 78% reporting in Cambria County. Greg Niebauer is up 55% to 45%. Separation is just under 3,000 votes there, with 78% in. So that's getting close. That's getting close to call there.
That's probably done.
probably, yeah.
What we don't know
Unless
is what
the-
area is
what
from
areas.
and if there's strength there, but that's not that's.
It'd
I'd be
interesting to
surprised
see-
if it
yeah.
changes.
It'd be surprising if it changed. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, we don't know what precincts are reporting. If the city of Johnstown, that's a lot of people in there. You don't know. So at that point, we're not going to call that just yet. It is pretty close. But that's definitely an interesting thing there, with an incumbent being down so late in the game here. Let's go now, move on to the Clearfield County DA with the results here. We are calling it. William Shaw is the incumbent, and he has just lost to Ryan Sayers. 54% of the vote going to Ryan Sayers, 97% of precincts reporting. So we are calling it. Ryan Sayers will be the new district attorney in Clearfield County. A little bit of a surprise they're seeing an incumbent go down. But as you said, you talked about the Altoona Mirror ads they did in the county. I don't know if that had contributed to anything.
Well,
but
I think it's
interesting.
a sign of desperation, maybe too tough of a word. But when you're advertising, I don't recall seeing advertisements in the Altoona Mirror in the past for Clearfield County races. Maybe there have been.
But definitely interesting there to see.
Yeah, that tells me you're really pushing it at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and for an incumbent to lose, they're very interesting there.
Now, his
to
record
call.
looked. If the information was correct in his ad, he has an outstanding record of experience. I don't know how successful he was, but when you look at all the prosecution, there was clear experience on his side, and the others were. It's the old tally scorecard: 000, 1,600.
Yeah, exactly.
Just comparing experience, and it was phenomenal. So I'm wondering what the real issue was there. If he lost a couple big cases, or just
And why
what
that
happened.
flip would be made.
Yeah, because the experience is on his side for sure.
Yeah.
One of the other races we want to look at here is Marcy's Law, the vote that is going on statewide for an amendment there. Again, this is something that the injunction has been laid down by the courts. So these votes at this point aren't counting. Nothing's changing at this point until we go through more of the legal processes. But overwhelmingly in the votes, the people are saying yes with 51% in the state reporting. What do you think that attributes to? Does that show you that people in the state want to see at least some sort of change when it comes to victims' rights?
Yeah, clearly people in the state want to see victims' rights enacted and put in the state constitution. The problem with the law, of course, is it's kind of vague in terms of what it does, how it works, and so on. So, and this is the problem that the court had with it.
Yes.
So the state legislature is going to have to think. I mean, if ultimately this gets approved, right? The legislature is going to have to figure out how to implement it.
Exactly, because that was some of the main arguments in the ACLU's point, and why they were challenging this is because some of the vagueness of the language, as they said, as well as making with 15 or so different things, they said number 15, that would change in the state constitution with this amendment. People are kind of skeptical about that, making so sweeping
It'd be
changes.
interesting, here comes a political comment. It
Here we
would
go.
be interesting to be in the inner room when the ACLU is talking about this, how they weigh defendants' rights with victims' rights.
Yeah, it would be
because I tend to think there's an element of being pro-defendant or pro-defendant's defense rights, okay, under the Constitution, but I wonder how they view the victims' rights. It would be interesting to hear their internal debate on that.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
would be, from a pure informational point of view, it'd be interesting to hear that debate.
Exactly, because some of the points they raised.
They would
is
seem to be
the
on both sides of the
declaration
issue.
of-
They would seem to be
Exactly.
on both sides of the issue.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That'd be interesting. We would like to see that.
Come on, we'll do it here.
We'll
right?
do it live. Let's have
Yeah.
the debate right here on
right.
WTAJ.
Why not?
Another race that we are calling tonight is the Altoona Mayor's race. We are calling that for Matt Pacifico, the incumbent, to stay in office. That is official. We are calling that. We do have Colleen Knutson live in Blair County to talk about this race. It's something she's been covering tonight. Colleen, what can you tell us about this race?
Yeah, good evening, Jordan. Good evening, everyone there in the election headquarters. As you might be able to see behind me is the Altoona Grand Hotel, and that is where Matt Pacifico is celebrating this victory again. He won by 65%, defeating Democrat Mark Geis, and this is actually his third term. He started off as mayor as it was a part-time position, but this is his technically third re-election, second as a full-time position. And coming up at 11, I'm going to have him here for a live interview and ask him, since it is his third term, what he's going to be doing differently for the city. And you can see that again at 11 o'clock, and you can stay up to date on all of our local elections, as we are your election headquarters for this year and all years to come. And you can check that online at wearecentralpa.com. In Altoona, I'm Colleen Knutson, WTAJ News.
Colleen, thank you. And this wasn't a surprise for the Altoona mayor's race. Matt Pacifico was seemingly comfortable running for his re-election there. The first full-time mayor in the city of Altoona, and he had some accomplishments to back him up.
Well, that's true, but make another comment here. The Democratic Party, they'll be mad at me. I think I already have the group that supported Amy mad at me. I might as well make it another one.
Here we go.
The Democratic Party does not work hard for their candidates. They had a chance in the past to be successful in the mayor's race. I'm not saying they would be here, but you don't see the effort that you see in the Republican Party. Of course, the Republican Party wins more often, so they're more energized. But the city has a high Democrat registration, and that's where they got to start. And they never seem to do a good job in the city. Actually, a bad job. Now they won't even look at me when I see them in the street.
Man, Terry Tomasetti is going off tonight, folks.
Well, no.
Here we go.
No, they could be more successful.
We
But
appreciate
they
your
don't
phone
make the
calls.
effort. They
Yeah.
don't make the effort.
So you do think that if there was more effort, that there's a possibility that there could be a closer race?
It
or
would have been a
something like
closer
this?
race.
been a
They have
close race.
He's been on, Mark's been on city council for 20 years. He's a little gruff, but he has that experience. He's knowledgeable when you listen to him talk. Where's the support? That party doesn't do a good enough job in the city.
Interesting race. I mean, we were seeing in Cambria County, at least, some flip from blue to red.
That's right.
And now we're talking in Altoona. Again, a stronghold Republican in Blair County, which is admittedly an uphill battle, I think, for Democrats in a lot of the races here. But that's an interesting point there that you're making there, Terry.
And I'll go on. You don't see the union people supporting them either. So they're all going to be mad
Wow.
at me. You don't. They don't work hard enough. They have the numbers, but they don't seem to work hard. I don't know if it's smarts or energy or what it is. They just don't work hard enough. Bob Kutzer is the chairman of the union group. He says, "Oh, we just endorse. We don't go out and do anything."
Well, there
How do you-
you go.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, maybe Bob's going to give us a phone call too. Here we go. That was. Let's wrap up our coverage here. Obviously, a lot of interesting races. We'll be continuing our coverage as we get into the 11 o'clock news on WTAJ. It's been a pleasure having you both here as we talk through this on WTAJplus.com. I want to thank Terry Tomasetti and Jack Barlow for being here, guys, and doing this and kind of enjoying this process with me.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll be back here in the Election Hub during your local election headquarters at 11 o'clock on WTAJ. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you at 11.